Hi, I'm Don Janice, and this is Authentic Living. When we talk about authentic living, we're talking about every facet of our life, and that includes how we handle our finances. Today, I interviewed Audrey Faust. She is a finance coach, and she helps empower women to create wealth in their life so that they can live as authentically as they want to for as long as they want to. And it doesn't matter how old we are, because I asked that specific question. We can start now and create wealth and live well for the rest of our lives. But it all begins with mindset. That's part of her program. We talk about that as well as many other subjects. She is a wealth of information, and it was so fun having this interview. So please stay tuned and enjoy listening to Audrey Faust, financial coach. So Audrey is the founder of Financially Empowered Sisterhood. Don't you love that? She's a financial coach, like I said, and she's an expert and dedicated to empowering women to take charge of their finances. So you have an MBA, and you're also you have a neurocoaching certification. How do those two relate together?
Yeah, interesting combination, right?
Yeah.
So, I became fascinated when I did my own mindset coaching with a mindset coach probably about 5 years ago. Before that, I never even knew that you could actually change the thoughts in your head. And like to me, that was like mind blowing that, like, oh, all those like negative thoughts going around in my head, I can actually change them. They don't have to be like that. So that was kind of my first revelation, and that was about 5 years ago. And then I always found that profound. And then I came across somebody who actually did a certification in mindset coaching, and I was like, so then I did her program, and I was like, wow, I transformed my whole mindset through her program again. And then her way felt easier by doing what's called a brain prime. And you listen to this recording for 60 to 67 days, and you rewire your brain by doing that. So that's kind of the whole premise behind the neurocoaching. And once I did it, used it myself, and saw such huge changes, I was like, okay, she offers a certification program, I'm in. And what I find is oftentimes the biggest thing that holds us back around our money is our mindset. Now my program has mindset plus strategy, right? And we do a lot of the mindset first in the Financially Empowered Sisterhood because you got to get the mindset right before you can get the strategies, or you're going to sabotage yourself. And I've had people even like come to me and be like, I thought there was like strategies in here. And I'm like, we're going to get to the strategies. First, we got to deal with the mindset, because if you don't change that mindset and you're not aware of your thoughts that are happening around your money, like none of the strategies will work. None of the strategies will work. So I love the quote from Bob Proctor that says 95% of success is mindset, and only 5% is actually strategy. Do you find that true, Don?
It is true. And I was at that place where a lot of your clients have been, where they didn't understand why we're not getting into the meat of this coaching about money, because I didn't understand at that point how important it is to uncover things that we in the coaching industry called limiting beliefs, that literally are limiting. They will stop you from success until you face them. It's shadows that we carry in our bodies. And yes, I would say 95% is very right on with that, because if we don't change how we think about things, we're never going to see ourselves as successful ever.
100%. And yes, limiting beliefs. So what I call my money mindset limiting beliefs, I call them prosperity blockers. So like we go in, I have a whole exercise where we identify them and then we learn how to reprogram our prosperity blockers. Oftentimes, one of the most common in entrepreneurs is making money is hard. That's one of the beliefs that they've been wired in their brain. And we get these beliefs, most of them, as you probably know, from our childhood. So from age 0 to like 7, anything that comes into our brain, we're taking it as truth. Remember, we believed in Santa Claus back then. And now we're like, then as you get older, you start to question, like, how can this one person get around the entire world in one night and get down everybody's chimney and leave all these presents? That's your logical brain starts kicking in and starts questioning things that really seem untrue. But a lot of times we don't know if they're true or not. So like I can remember hearing my parents say, I work hard for my money. That's like a lot of parents would say that. So what does that translate into? Making money is hard. My mom would often say, money doesn't grow on trees. What does that translate into? That translates into money is scarce and you have a scarce mindset, that you're not an abundance mindset. So we work on both. We work on strategies that can keep, and behaviors and mindset and all the things that can help you really build wealth and just create whatever wealth looks like to you. And I love to say that because maybe you want to have $1 million. Maybe you want to have $100,000 in your savings so you can sleep at night and know that, you're taken care of, like or a certain amount of money in your retirement or whatever it is. Like whatever prosperity and wealth looks like to you, that's what we work towards. Like you get to set the barometer and you get to set the goal.
I love that. I love that. Prosperity blockers. I'm going to start adopting that instead of limiting beliefs, because I love that. Prosperity blockers, especially when we're talking about money. That is what it's about. And by the way, I kind of choose to believe in Santa Claus still. It's just like fun for me. So don't burst my bubble.
Sorry, Dawn.
It's okay. No, absolutely. And I love the science behind what you're talking about, how the human brain develops. And, how when we're young is when very young is when those first beliefs become really solid in our bodies and in our brains. But what I found working with mindset and actually being a part of your program that you did a masterclass in, which everybody, the next time she does that, join it. It was so good.
Yes.
Because I have a lot of prosperity blockers in my body still, and I'm working on releasing them. And just first of all, recognizing that that's true is huge. And I uncovered a few of them while I was working in that masterclass with you. But that is key. So before we can start a strategy, we have to do the cleanup work.
Absolutely.
What I'm hearing you say.
Yes. And that's why I offer that free masterclass where we uncover your prosperity blockers, because you might even need to get over your prosperity blockers before you come and work with me. If you come and work with me in the group, we dive deep into what your prosperity blockers is, and we come up and, with what you need to change them to and how you can change them. And, I kind of do that in an in-depth level with everyone. So, but the first step is like you said, recognizing they're there. And, so when you took the masterclass, did it surprise you that you had those prosperity blockers?
Yes, some of the answers to your questions. And I, just as soon as you asked, I started writing, and I was surprised that those words came like out of my body onto paper, because I didn't know that about myself. And I've done some deep work. Obviously, I've done some deep work over the last 20 years, and that was new. So thank you.
You're welcome. And Dawn, like you're not the only one. So I've done that. I've done that masterclass inside of groups. And I've done that masterclass. That was the first time I offered it live and to anyone that want, but I've done it a lot of times inside of groups and different coaches groups. And I can't tell you how many times people are blown away at the fact that they have these prosperity blockers, but that's what you don't really know what's in your subconscious. And your subconscious runs 95% of the show every day. You have 80,000 thoughts per day, 80,000 thoughts on any given day. And 95% of them are in your subconscious and you're not aware of them. So your subconscious is the part of the brain that is like, wants to be on, it's lazy. It wants to be on automation, right? So think about, you don't have to think about how you tie your shoe anymore. But when you first learned, like, it was like, do this, do the rabbit ears, right? The whole thing. And now we just tie our shoe without even thinking about it. Well, now it's gone into our subconscious brain. And it's the same thing with these beliefs and these prosperity blockers that have been programmed in us our entire life by the people we were around. We don't even know they're there. And it's running 95% of everything and sabotaging everything because
Yes.
we don't know it's there. And that's why we got to uncover them is the first part. And then we got to reprogram them. And then we get to move on to all the strategies to help now build your wealth. Because one of the questions I ask is, I don't want to give them all away, but because the point of doing it is not to really think. So it's the first word that comes to your mind. It's like word association. And if you have a negative belief around rich people, for instance, what your brain's going to do is say, well, I don't want to be like that. So I don't want to be rich. So I'm going to push any kind of money away and sabotage myself 100 million times because I don't want to be like a rich jerk. Like my mind thinks all rich people are jerks, right? So I don't want to be like that. Your brain is going to fight it all the way. And it's also going to, then you'll never really have any money.
And I feel like the logical part of my brain that is the thinker knows better and says, I do need money to survive and be prosperous and to give to the world. But then I'm fighting against this unconscious brain that I don't even realize is actually running the show in the background. I don't even realize what it's saying, but I see the sabotage show up. And it's old habits that I thought were protecting me before. Like, for example, when I'm having a bad day, what do? I go shopping. Doesn't matter what's in my account. I feel like it's going to make me feel better. And guess what? It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
And we talk about that and recognizing that in my program, like that's one of the behaviors, like, is emotional spending. And it's just like emotional eating. It doesn't really work. Right? Emotional anything. We like, whether it's food or spending or whatever, like, just like, see, you've become aware of it, right? So that awareness is the first step. And then, so I teach in my group, like, awareness is the first step. So then take a step back and say, why am I doing this? Why am I buying this? Is this something that I really, really want? Or am I just doing it to make myself feel better? So, and then you get to decide if you want to continue on with the purchase.
So when we're actually living authentically as the person that we are, every part of us, we start shedding some of those habits that don't belong in us, those spending habits that we think mean something, but they really don't to us. So how do we relate this all to, becoming more authentically who we were meant to be? How does that work? When we're managing our finances with your program, I know you've got tools for that. Like, is there a checklist? Do you ask questions like, what do you want to create out of your life? How does that work?
Yeah. So in my program, we start with your prosperous vision. So, and then we tie everything back to that. So if your prosperous vision is you want to buy your first home, you want to buy your second home, you want to retire your significant other, like whatever your prosperous vision is or your goal, like, and then we create the prosperous vision and then we create a deep why behind it. Like we go in and we're like, well, why do you want that? Well, why do you want that? And once you create a deep emotional why behind your prosperous vision, it will, and you take care of the mindset part, then everything else will fall in line. Like you'll have the strategies, you'll have the mindset, and you'll be able to see the end result, which is your prosperous vision. And that's authentically you, right? That's authentically what you want. I don't tell you what your prosperous vision is. You get to decide. And I don't judge your prosperous vision. You get to decide what you want. And then I show you how to get it.
I love it. So what I'm hearing is, you said it falls into line. So you become aligned with your
Yes,
vision. You can see the light at the end of the tunnel and you know which way to go. So you have a plan. But I think
exactly.
what's really key here is that there is no judgment. You don't allow judgment from others to come in because you know that it's for you and it's the best thing for you. It doesn't matter what
100%.
anybody else thinks. Yeah.
100%. And that's what it's all about. And, we always bring in such judgment and shame and guilt when it comes to money, right? We make money have this like power over us that it's like if we don't have this or if we don't have that or if we're not this certain way or whatever, like it means something about us, but it doesn't really. It's as you talk, you just get to be authentically you, whatever that is. And that includes what you have, that includes your money, and that includes what you want for yourself. Now, you could, like I said before, you could want wealth means like to you. What does it mean to you? You could want the freedom to travel, right? That could mean wealth to you. Like, first thing you needed to do is decide what wealth means to you.
Mhm.
And I work with my clients on that too. What does wealth look like to you? What is wealth? What do you want? So
How empowering that we get to decide what that means to us,
yeah,
only to
it's
us.
different for everybody, right?
Yeah, that's beautiful. All right, let's get into the meat of some things here. So you talk about the 7% rule when it comes to debt. Can you explain what that means?
Sure can. My favorite concept, to be honest. So the 7% rule is 7% comes from the interest rate. Okay. So a lot of people have been told, at least in my generation, to pay extra on your mortgage or pay extra on your student loan, not to have debt. Debt is bad.
Mhm.
And even financial coaches out there that aren't, that are different from me will say debt is bad, debt is bad, debt is bad. I like to use the 7% rule as a gauge as to what kind of debt is good and what kind of debt is bad. So over and above 7%, try to pay it off quicker. Under 7%, try you. I'm going to explain to you exactly why under 7% you shouldn't pay it off early.
What?
So I have a set of calculators that are called the wealth building bundle. And there's a wealth winning calculator inside that bundle, and they're free to anybody who wants them. There is inside that bundle is a wealth winning calculator. And what that does is it compares investing in a mutual fund to paying off your loan early. Now, the example I give in there is a mortgage, or that I'm going to give you as a mortgage. You can put whatever you want in the calculator. You can, whatever interest rate, whatever you want to put in there, it's totally up to you. So the example I'm going to talk about is if you bought a $250,000 mortgage today, and it was a 30-year mortgage and you got a 5% rate. Now, I know the rates are going up a little bit. I know some people have lower than 5%, some people have higher. this is just an example, and you can surely download the calculators and put your own example in there. So I just use 5%, and you have $250,000 30-year mortgage, and the interest rate is 5%. And as I've heard, and many of people have heard, is pay an extra $100 on your mortgage, and you'll pay it off sooner and save a lot of money in interest. So this calculator actually, when I actually did the math, I'm like, okay, I need to make a calculator that shows people this. So it's not really true. You can do better things with your money, is what I'm coming at to. So in the calculator, you put $250,000 mortgage, 5% interest rate, and pay an extra $100 on your mortgage. You will save, I believe it's around $40,000 in interest, and you will pay your loan off. I think it's $38,000 in interest, and you will pay your loan off 4.25 years early. But if you take that same $100, and you invest it in a mutual fund over that same 30 years, and you get a rate of return around 10%. Again, this is just a percent I'm throwing out there. There's a whole chart in there. You can pick your own percent. But 10%, which isn't super aggressive for a mutual fund, you will have $215,000 at the end of that 30 years, almost as much as your mortgage.
Wow.
So like, that's kind of where, like, something that's been passed down, I think, from when people had double-digit mortgage rates. Yes, it probably did make sense to pay an extra $100 if you were paying 10, 12, 15% mortgage rates that they had way back in the 70s.
Yeah.
But nobody kind of redid the math or thought like, and it's just a thing that kept going along. And it's like, how I built my wealth, which is now my net worth is now multi-7 figures, is by doing the math. Thank you.
That's so awesome.
Doing the math and making smart decisions on where I'm putting my money, and started investing. When I started investing, it was $50 a month in a mutual fund. Like, and I barely had 2 pennies in a pot. I didn't have any money. So, and the earlier you start, the more that compounding goes as well. And that's where you really make the money. The earlier you start, the more compounding happens, and you can definitely, increase substantial and create substantial wealth by starting, and then just set it and forget it. I like to say, set up an automatic investment plan and a mutual fund. Even if it's $50 a month, set it and forget it. And a lot of people get a little fearful around that because they don't know anything about the stock market. But in my group program, we actually have a whole session that I show them exactly how to invest on their own, no financial advisor needed. And by the end of my program, every single person was not investing when they got in there, or they had a financial advisor. By the end, they were all investing on their own.
I love it.
And it's just, a lot of times fear keeps us from doing anything. And when somebody can show us that it's okay, like there's nothing to be afraid of, like, it just opens all kinds of doors.
Beautiful. Is there hope for a 63-year-old woman that needs to start now?
Absolutely. There's always hope.
Yeah.
I
Cool.
had one girl in my program last time, and those were her exact words, was, you showed me in this program how I couldn't see how it was possible for me, and now I see it. And that's kind of like it's financially empowered sisterhood, and we follow the path to prosperity, which is what we follow. And by following that path is exactly how you can, by the end of it, you're going to see it. You're going to start with that vision. And then by the end of the program, you're going to see how you can make that vision happen.
I just love the name, Financially Empowered Sisterhood. I mean, I want to be in that. I want to be part of that. Financially empowered for sure. I'm sure a lot of you out there do too. So let's like talk. Okay, let's get in. All right. So net worth. So I've looked at my net worth in the past. I'm not sure what that number does other than possibly get me a loan. But how is it important when you're building wealth?
Yes. It's important when you're building wealth because it's like trying to go on, some people don't like this analogy, trying to go on a diet without stepping on the scale first. So,
The scale. I was told to run over my scale.
but without having a starting number, and then it's also inspiration and motivation, right? So it helps your path along the path, right? I call it, actually in my program, I call it your wealth building dashboard. So you create a wealth building dashboard, and that's your starting point. And it doesn't matter what that number is. It could be 0. I've had people that it was 0, but you get to go up from there. You get to make decisions that's going to grow your net worth instead of take away from it, right? And that's how you start building. Like but if you don't know what your net worth is, and I've had people that like their net worth kind of upset them when they were in there. And then I've had people that were like, wow, I didn't realize that was my net worth. So like, and I say to both of them, it's just a number. Doesn't mean anything about you. So don't give it the power to mean something about you. But it's your starting point, right? It's like, I'll use an analogy of traveling. It's like starting from, Pennsylvania and traveling to California without like a GPS or not knowing where you're going, right? Like not, or a map or anything. Like you're just going to go and think, oh, and you could end up in Florida, right?
Talk about frightening. That's fear.
Yeah.
So you have to know to see the path. You have to see the
Yeah.
path.
So, and it's your starting point. It's for whatever analogy you want to use. That's all it is. And then you get to like watch it grow. And when you watch it grow, and I say do it once a year, right? And then you can see the progress. That's what I do, it once a year. And then you can see the progress as it grows every year. And when I actually started doing it, my net worth was $350,000. And that was in 2009. So that wasn't that long ago.
No.
And now my net worth is over $2 million. And I put 3 kids through college during that time.
That's amazing. I love your story.
So it's like you said, it's not too late. You just have to start being conscious about it, which most of us aren't, right? We don't want to think about money. We don't want to, but that's the one thing that I see drastically change with the women in financially empowered sisterhood is not only are they learning like in there and paying attention to their mindset and paying it, but all of a sudden they all start making different decisions about things because they're finally paying attention to that whole part of their life, right? That part of their money. And like that's kind of all what it's about. They're paying attention. Like, and okay, wait a minute, like this is to the forefront now. So I'm in this and I'm like, maybe I'm going to make a different decision on a purchase or on a, emotional spending, right?
Yes.
So,
well, and
it's amazing seeing the transformation in the women that come in that group. I mean, it just warms my heart.
I can only imagine because whether we want to admit it or not, this is a huge part of our world and our life is how money is a means. It's how we create. It's part of how we create. It's part of how we live. It's part of how we see ourselves. And I can imagine also that at this time in the world, when I was growing up, a woman couldn't even have a credit score. Only the man couldn't
Yeah.
have credit in the 60s and 70s. It just sort of
Yeah.
happening in the late 70s. And so in my lifetime, and I don't think I'm that old, but anyway, in my lifetime, how a woman looks at finances has changed drastically. And I'm just going to say this, I think a lot of women have stayed in marriages for financial reasons that weren't
100%.
really the right fit for them.
My mom was one of them. And I think that's what fuels a lot of my passion around this. And you're right, 1974, which was just like 50 years ago, 1974 was the first time women could have a credit card. Like, so I kind of like judged my mom a little bit because she stayed in a marriage that she wasn't happy in. But then when I found out that statistic, I was like, she couldn't leave.
No.
She didn't know anything about money. She didn't know anything about like, and to believe that was only 50 years ago.
Isn't that crazy?
Like,
And a woman had to get
crazy.
married. A woman had to get married to have credit.
She had to have anything, to have a house, to have credit, to have, any kind of, even a bank account.
That
But
talk
it's
about a
crazy.
patriarchal
Like,
society. I mean,
yeah,
seriously. But luckily we've evolved from there. And now it's like what you're doing is very important because you're teaching a new skill for a lot of us that are a certain age.
and yeah, and we put a lot of shame and judgment around it because we think we should know. But who was going to teach us? Our parents didn't know. Like, I learned a lot of this. I went to college for accounting, so I learned a lot of this in there. But they didn't in accounting, they didn't even teach you about like managing your money and
Real life
all
stuff.
of that stuff. It was like you had to figure it out on your own.
Yeah. And there has been a lot of shame. This is a whole nother subject. We'll have to do another
Yeah.
one on the shame that is connected to money for women.
Yes.
It's generations old, thousands of years old. That's
It is.
generational. We'll talk about that at another time. I can see a whole podcast episode on that one. That'll be fun.
Absolutely. I have all kinds of statistics about that too.
I love that you're a numbers girl, even though some of us are scared of numbers. But anyway, this is
No reason to be scared of numbers.
so great. So I guess, we've got just another minute here, but I would like to know, and I know this is like one of your favorite things to talk about, but what is the number one reason that a lot of us don't become financially prosperous? Why?
Well, that ties back to what we started the podcast with, is mindset, right? So the number one reason people don't become rich is because they either don't think they can, or they don't think highly of people who are, or it's all mindset. So, and we sabotage ourselves. And that's really the number one reason people don't become rich is mindset.
All right. Well, I think I need to work with you because it's time to start
Great.
working on that stuff right now. So if any of you listeners out there on the audio versions of the podcast or the YouTube version want to work with Audrey, we're going to list your contact information below and how they can join your group. Is there any last words of wisdom or contact information that you would like to share, my friend?
I just wanted to share, if you visit my website, I have 3 different free resources on there. We actually just redid it this week. And so there's Money Magic PDF, which has money mindset mantras. There's the calculators that I talked about, the wealth building bundle. And there's also a new resource that I just added, which is based on the masterclass that you attended, Dawn, but it's a 20-minute audio that you can transform your money mindset in 20 minutes by listening to that audio. So that is some 3 great resources that are all free, and just hop on over to my website and pick one or pick all three.
That's what a wonderful gift. What is your website address?
AudreyFaust.com.
So AudreyFaust consulting.com.
Yes, all one.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you so much for your time today. It's valuable. I know you could be using it to get out there and make a bunch of money. So, but we really appreciate you so much. Thank you, Audrey.
Thank you, Dawn. I've had so much fun. I appreciate you having me.
Awesome. All right. We'll see you all next time on Authentic Living with Dawn Shanice. Bye for now.